Ireland is a strange land, enveloped in ghost stories, legends and myths. It is a land both mysterious and frightening, a land where myth blends with reality and the lines between real life and fiction are often blurred. Much of it is dotted with ancient castles and ruins, and thus is the perfect backdrop for a spooky ghost story. Here is a list of 7 most haunted castles in Ireland. Number 7. Leamany Castle. Leamany Castle can be found near Killinagowie, in County Clare. In the late 1400s, the Tower House was built there first by Turlough O'Brien, and 150 years later, a 4-story mansion house was added onto the Tower House by Conor O'Brien and his wife, Mary McMahon. Mary McMahon, or Red Mary, married Conor after her first husband died. However, it wasn't long until Conor passed away too. In 1651 he was killed by the Cromwellian forces. Shortly after Conor's death, Mary put on her best clothes and set off for Limerick. She desperately wanted to keep hold of her land and estates, and thus offered herself in marriage to any willing Cromwellian officer in exchange. She soon married Captain Cooper. However, it is said that their marriage was short-lived. During one of their arguments, Mary pushed Captain Cooper out of a 3rd-story window. According to the legend, Mary had 25 husbands in total, all of whom she killed. It is said that if Mary McMahon was dissatisfied with her servants, she would hang them by their hair from the castle's corbels. According to others, she used to cut off the breasts of her maids. Finally, the myth ends by saying that after Mary killed her last husband, she was captured by her enemies and sealed inside a hollow tree. The red-haired ghost still haunts the castle up to this day. Number 6. Dunluce Castle. Dunluce Castle is located in County Antrim and was first built in the 13th century. In the 16th century, the castle was taken over by the MacQuillan clan. Lord MacQuillan had a daughter named Maeve Rowe, thought to be his only daughter, who he wanted to marry off to her cousin, Rarion MacQuillan. However, Maeve was in love with another man, Reginald O'Callaghan, who was the son of a clan leader at war with the MacQuillans. As such, Maeve was absolutely set against the idea of marrying her cousin Rarion, and Lord MacQuillan was absolutely set against the idea of Maeve marrying Reginald O'Callaghan. Thus, Lord MacQuillan locked Maeve up in one of the turrets of the castle, intending to free her once she agrees to marry Rarion. Of course, Maeve's love, Reginald O'Callaghan, eventually came to her rescue. He scaled the tower and together they made away in the boat. However, that night was a stormy one and their boat was tossed around savagely by the rampant sea. Eventually, their little boat hit the rocks and they sank to the bottom of the sea. According to the legend, neither Maeve's nor Reginald's bodies were ever found. Up to this day, visitors of the castle claim to hear cries and wails coming from the tower where Maeve was locked up. Today, the tower is known as the MacQuillan Tower, and Maeve is known as the Banshee of Dunluce Castle, forever waiting to be rescued by her one true love. Another legend has it that during one stormy night in the 1600s, the castle's kitchen fell into the sea. At the time, Catherine Manners, who was an English lady, and her husband, Lord Antrim, lived in Dunluce Castle. Lady Catherine decided to have a lavish party one December night and invited the noble families over for an evening filled with extravagant food and entertainment. However, their pleasurable evening was cut short by a huge rumbling noise which seemed to come from the north side of the castle. They rushed towards the noise and were shocked to find that the kitchen had fallen down 100 feet below, taking the lives of 9 servants as well as some valuables with it. According to the myth, a gypsy whom Lady Catherine had refused earlier that day was standing in the only safe spot of the kitchen. It was believed that she had put the curse on the castle. Shortly after, Lady Catherine and her husband left for Waterford. However, paintings of Dunluce Castle from the 18th century portray an untouched kitchen. Recently, Dunluce Castle has been portrayed in the famous HBO series Game of Thrones. It is also believed that the castle, Cair Paravel, in C.S. Lewis' Chronicles of Narnia, was also based on Dunluce Castle. Number 5. Ballygoly Castle. Ballygoly Castle, nowadays called Ballygoly Castle Hotel, is situated in County Antrim. It was built in 1625 by James Shaw, a Scot, who came to Ireland in order to seek his fortune in the Ulster plantation. Shaw rented some land from Lord Antrim and then built a castle atop this land. It is believed that Ballygoly Castle has as many as 3 ghosts, but the one we know most about is undoubtedly that of Isabella Shaw, the wife of James Shaw, who has been haunting the castle for over 400 years. Legend has it that James Shaw killed his wife after she gave birth to his heir, something he really wanted, by locking her up in one of the towers of the castle. Lady Isabella tried to escape from the tower window in order to search for her son, but killed herself in the process. Another theory says that she was pushed out of the window either by Lord Shaw himself or one of his henchmen. Lady Isabella is considered to be a friendly ghost who does no harm. Apparently she likes to knock on doors, and some guests claim they have felt her presence during their stay there. Strange noises and an unnatural green mist over the castle have also been reported. Number 4. Kilkea Castle. Kilkea Castle is located in County Kildare and is now a hotel with a golf course, but its history goes back for centuries. In 1181, Sir Walter de Gillespie built the original mound with a stronghold and the enclosed courtyard. The castle was soon inherited by the Fitzgerald family through marriage and remained in their hands for over 700 years. The most fascinating resident to ever live in the castle had to be Gerald, the 11th Earl of Kildare, who lived there in the 16th century. He was sent to Europe to study, and when there he became interested in alchemy. When he came back to Ireland, his neighbors believed that he possessed magic powers and thus named him the Wizard Earl. According to the myth, the Wizard Earl's wife constantly asked him to show her his magic powers, seeing as she had heard so much about them. Thus, one day, the Earl agreed, but said that if she got scared she would never see him again. His wife reassured him that she would not, and therefore, he decided to test her. He first made the stream rise up all the way to her mouth, yet she was not at all frightened. He then made a man who had died years before appear in their house and shake his wife's hand. Still, she was not scared. Finally, he conjured up a snake which wrapped itself around his wife's body and hissed in her face, yet she did not even flinch and thus passed the test. The Earl then told her to close her eyes and keep them closed until he stomped his foot 3 times. When his wife heard the stomping, she opened her eyes only to find the Earl has disappeared. Instead, a small bird was sitting on her shoulder, whistling a beautiful song. But a black soon appeared and the Earl's wife fainted with terror. When she woke up, the Earl was gone and she never saw him again. It is said that the Earl sleeps under the moat of Muramas and only appears every 7 years on a magnificent white horse. Number 3. Clonmany Castle. Clonmany Castle is located in County Offaly and was built by the MacCallum clan in the early 1500s. In the 17th century the castle was given to King Henry III, who then gave it to Thomas Boleyn in order to secure his daughter's, Anne's, hand. After King Henry got bored of Anne and had her beheaded, it was no longer safe to be a Boleyn in England. Thus, Anne's cousins, Mary and Elizabeth Boleyn, were exiled to the Clonmany Castle in Ireland. After the 2 sisters died, they were buried under a hawthorn tree in the castle grounds. The main ghost associated with the castle is that of a man who can't be seen standing at the top of the tower, shrouded in mist. His figure is tall and skeleton-like and he wears old-fashioned clothes. Passing motorists often see him at night, as well as an eerie glow which seems to surround him. Visitors of the castle have also claimed to have seen the figure of a man on top of the tower. Perhaps it is his mysterious identity that makes him so appealing. So next time you are in the area, keep your eyes peeled for a strange, mysterious man enveloped in mist. Number 2. Killare Castle. Killaloe Castle can be found in County Westmeath. The building we see standing today was built in 1780 and was then converted to a Gothic castle in 1830. The castle once belonged to the Chapman family, who came into lots of land in Ireland from their connection to their cousin Sir Walter Raleigh. Benjamin Chapman received Killaloe Castle after he became captain in Cromwell's army during the Cromwellian Wars. The last of the Chapman family, Thomas Chapman, married a member of the Rochford family, but the marriage soon came to an end. He then fell in love again in England and married a young woman named Sarah Dutner. Thomas Chapman then changed his name to Thomas Lawrence. Together with Sarah Dutner he had 6 children. One of them later became known as the famous Lawrence of Arabia. The castle is reputed to be haunted by Sir Benjamin Chapman's friend Stuart from the late 18th century, who cheated him out of a large sum of money. It is said that he was a small, crafty man with weasel eyes who used to sit at the foot of the dinner table playing the bagpipes for guests. According to the legend, he spent the money he cheated out of his master on drink and soon after drowned himself in the lake. It is said that he still haunts the ruins of the castle and can often be seen wandering around aimlessly through the grounds. Number 1. Arduen Castle. Arduen Castle is located in County Dublin and was built in 1738 by Reverend Robert Taylor, a man who is famous for paying his workers in free accommodation and whiskey. The castle remained in the Taylor family until 1962. 20 years later, it was purchased by the Irish state, and another 10 years later it was officially opened up to the public by the current President of Ireland at the time, Mary Robinson. The Taylor family was very friendly with Louisa Conley, the wife of Baron Langford. One day, the Baron was away in Scotland and Louisa was invited to stay over at the Ardguillan Castle. Now, Lady Louisa loved swimming, and the fact that it was a cold November's day hardly mattered to her. She decided to go for one last swim, seeing as it was her last day at the castle. So she ordered her servant to bring her swimming clothes, and together they set off towards a stone-stepped bridge. Her servant was slightly worried though, as the sea seemed rougher than ever, but Lady Louisa laughed it off and went in anyways. However, the sea was indeed rough that day, and before she knew it Lady Louisa was drowning. Her servant tried to save her, as did a couple of workmen nearby, but to no avail. An hour later, Lady Louisa's body was pulled out from the sea, lifeless. She died at the mere age of 31 and left behind a young family. Lady Louisa's death was witnessed by her cousin, Maria, who watched helplessly the unfortunate event unfold from the cliffs above. She later claimed to have had strange hallucinations whereby she could not look at any face without Lady Louisa's familiar face appearing in front of her. Today, the stone stairs where this tragedy occurred over 150 years ago still stand. They are known as the Ladies' Stairs and serve as a railway bridge. Many say that on dark nights, a white figure of a woman can be seen emerging up the stone steps from the beach and wandering off towards the Ardguillan Castle.